So I thought I should make a public response to this because I've just come across it. Saf, I don't even know who you are. So you are very judgmental that I published the email to condemn J.A. I published the email because the victim asked me to publish it so it would hopefully protect other people from it happening to them. So number one, that's wrong. Number two, I haven't put anything up that's fake. Shame that you've decided to judge that again. Myself or James are not in panic. You've, as you say, the email's fake, okay? Well, the truth's going to get shot straight up your arse. But I'm going to put this up because you've condemned me, judged me. So I wouldn't trust you with a barge pole. It's a shame you didn't just come forward and ask me. Rather than talk all over the internet, why not just email me and ask? It was put up with the victim's consent. So there's your answer. Shove it up your arse. So I guess this would say that the email was probably legitimate, that everybody like Saf and the other people said we were lying about. Pepsi, yeah, the woman beater, we know that. Because what I find strange about this is a female doing this. This female is defending exactly the same person as jonwedger is and is in the same group.
So, going live, I just wait for people to tune in. Jonwedger here. Hello, who's our first viewer? It's usually called Brew with a View, but today it's Brew with a Loo. There we go. Right, hello Maggie, thank you so much Maggie for the support you've given. Hello Hannah. Bev, right, we're up to 50 views, which is very good, 64. Janet, I hear you've been doing some very good work for us, thank you so much. Lola. Let's see the name, there's a Melissa Wager. An adopted daughter. Right, I'll let them go up to 200 and then I'll do the introductions. The post gone out of what this is about today. This is a special and it is also an appeal at the same time, so it's multi-pronged. Right, here we go. So Jay, you're the 200th viewer. Well done. Right, so it's Tuesday the 26th today, and we're in Saddleworth, in the north of England. It is Yorkshire, isn't it? It's Yorkshire. And everyone knows myself, jonwedger, and to my far right is Vicky, You may recognise Vicky. She's done an interview with myself, but she's also done stuff with Wilfred Wong and the UK column. And Vicky is a survivor of SRA and a campaigner and a committed Christian. And Vicky reaches out to minded sort of people who have been hurt and has a refuge. Well, not refuge, it's a place of solitude, really, isn't it? That people can come and help, you know. And we're privileged in the middle, sandwiched in the middle, is Lou Dickens, and Lou is a granddaughter of Geoffrey Dickens. Now, Geoffrey Dickens is a bit of a hero in the survivor community, and I heard about Geoffrey Dickens really when I first started my campaigning, and I have sort of seen some of his stuff on the television as well. And Geoffrey was a Tory MP from 79 to 95. He's a very interesting guy. And I can see why he had problems in Parliament, because he was a real alpha male. He's an ex-heavyweight boxer.
What I'm seeking to do is to put a new clause in the Criminal Justice Act, or bill as it is at the moment, to stop children participating or being present or joining in any ceremonies concerning Satanism, devil worship or witchcraft.
No, but I must say this, that she has nothing to fear from me, and nor do these genuine pagans. I don't approve of them because they're not...
The word witchcraft in the clause for the simple reason you are a secret society.
No.
Now, the Church of England,
No.
you can go to Sunday school, you can go to Bible classes, you can go to choir practice, you can you see what the children are doing and what the churches are up to. We cannot, in the case of those that I've named in my clause.
No, but I must say this, that she has nothing to fear from me, and nor do these genuine pagans. I don't approve of them because they're not in my religion.
Would you attend my Covenstead and come to one of my meetings? Would you take that invitation?
I probably wouldn't, because I'm a Christian and I very much disapprove of what you stand for. You are anti-Christ.
No, this is where you're wrong.
Paganism is anti...
No, but I must say this, that she has nothing to fear from me, and nor do these genuine pagans.
What is the devil you worship?
We don't worship the devil. We don't
What is
believe
the
in
God
the devil.
you worship?
No, but I must say this, that she has nothing to fear from me, and nor do these genuine pagans. I don't approve of them because they're not in my religion.
If we look at the jaw-dropping testimony of brave Jeanette, and when she said that the important people, these were wealthy people, would turn up at this farm, this barn, where children were hung on hooks, they were garroted, there was all sorts of sex orgies, and part of it were that these important people, these posh people, would beat them with sticks and then would rape and sodomise them. Again, the parallels are beyond compare. Which then really brings us on to Louise's grandfather, Geoffrey Dickens, who is, he's well respected amongst the victim and survivor community, and especially campaigners like Bill Maloney and Chris Fay always speak highly of this guy. And Geoffrey bravely exposed what was going on. He was also a crusader against Satanism, and he would also warn children, parents of children, about the dangers of Halloween, and that's something I think Vicky will go on about. And Geoffrey once mentioned that some of the religious institutes were like hornets' nests of child abuse, and in doing so, one of the things that Geoffrey had to endure, which I've had to endure, which all the other whistleblowers have had to endure, which Vicky and Brian Garrison, all that, is the trolling. Geoffrey was attacked by a group called SAF, a pro-Satanist group, and they stand for the Subculture for Alternative Freedom Foundation groups, and they were going out their way to class Geoffrey Dickens as a hogger of the headlines and a buffoon, and yet the truth is this guy, it was a lighthouse for all whistleblowers, truth seekers and victims and survivors of abuse, and may he rest in peace, because he really is a hero. So Vicky, if we can go over to you now. We've heard your testimony before, and that the police really haven't sort of moved any further with it, yet we know from...
Can I just say that after hearing everything that you've just said, I am very grateful that I have continued to speak out for the last 30 years.
And I think people out here are grateful.
I am so grateful, because when I first started speaking out, it was just never heard of. I was literally just trying to piece my life together and survive. I never had any intention of being a campaigner, never had any intention of I was literally surviving. And to sit and listen to all the dots joining together and this massive jigsaw, which is what it is, coming together, it is a privilege to sit with Geoffrey Dickens' granddaughter. So before you ask me anything, I just want to say that it's for such a time as this that we are sat here talking about this subject.
And Vicky, this is an appeal for people that are victims and survivors of this most atrocious crime to us. Now is the time to speak out.
Yes, now it is. Now is the time.
Not.
Now is the time to come together.
So, Lou, your grandfather knew Vicky.
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Yeah. I originally had support from Child Watch. Diane Core was the founder of Child Watch. I've mentioned this on my interviews before. And it was the founder of Child Watch that suggested that I did report my case to the police. And Geoffrey Dickens was my MP at the time. So I got in touch with Geoffrey Dickens as he was my MP. And then it was shortly after that, in 1992, he asked me, he'd been asked to go on a programme on Panorama called In the Name of Satan.
Can people watch this?
No, nobody can find it.
Oh my God, stop f***ing lying.
Tonight's programme is a report by Martin Bashir, postponed earlier, on satanic abuse. Because of the nature of the subject, you may find some scenes disturbing.
According to some social workers and police officers, satanic abuse is spreading across Britain. Adults and children claim to have participated in bizarre rituals involving torture, cannibalism, and culminating in the murder of hundreds of children every year. Tonight, Panorama investigates these allegations and asks, are crimes being committed in the name of Satan? Similar stories have arisen across the country. In Lancashire, tales of the unexpected found their way to the home of MP Geoffrey Dickens.
Before you mentioned the tunnel, what happened there?
I just remember a tunnel to my left and all close and everything to the right.
He says satanic abuse is now a nationwide problem and is pursuing a campaign at Westminster.
Control over children's minds and bodies.
Oh yes, I've been back to one of the tunnels since, and I've seen actually inside the tunnel a drawing of a pentagram, and alongside.
I don't want to go over the top on this issue and frighten parents and frighten people, but it is quite widespread. All I know is that if these sort of cases have come to my attention, and they're all in different parts of the United Kingdom, then the probability is that it is going on in most major towns, and certainly the cities in this country.
The incredible stories. It was in America that stories about satanic abuse first emerged during the 1980s. Videos were exported to child protection agencies in Britain. Soon, some social workers began searching for satanic abuse here. But for all the graphic images, there hasn't been one successful prosecution to date. Parents say their children have been wrongly taken away and traumatized by the very childcare system designed to protect them.
The children and myself caught up in this system have been abused and physically abused, which is unforgivable. It should never have happened, and it's got to stop here now.
There are children who are trying and trying to say, nobody touched us. It didn't happen. I'm all right. I'm safe with my father. I'm safe with my mother. I want to be back with my family. And they are not being listened to.
Over the past 4 years, allegations of satanic abuse have surfaced across Britain, from the south coast up to the Orkney Islands. Child protection agencies have been quickly mobilised, taking children from their homes and spending substantial sums of money in the search for evidence. In Britain, this search is relatively new, but in the United States, it's been going on for almost a decade. On the eve of Halloween, a small town in Georgia was struck by a satanic panic. Stories of 50,000 human sacrifices a year in the States have created a climate of fear. Since 1985, there have been over 50 similar panics.
Is your information reliable?
Yes, it's real good information.
Get busy with that, and I'll see if I can get up some extra help.
321 to Taylor Ford, 1019 to this, so please.
The police were quickly mobilised. Members of the public were told to lock up their children. By the morning, the panic had reached its peak. Mary Hortman sped off to school to rescue her child.
Someone told me that a group of these devil worshippers was coming into town to get a blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl to sacrifice the body. So I automatically went to school to get my daughter because she has blonde hair and blue eyes.
Children were rushed onto several buses, a convoy returning them home to safety. Despite investigation, the police found no evidence, but they still believe Satanists are in town.
We know that devil worshippers exist. We found proof of them being around. We haven't run across any devil worshippers, but we know they exist.
Belief in satanic abuse has been promoted by some sections of the church. Fundamentalist Christians, with their literal understanding of the Bible, have always nurtured a doctrine of the devil. During the 1980s, some Christians involved in child protection began speaking about a new form of child abuse perpetrated by Satanists. From here, the dogma spread to social workers and police officers across the United States.
But all the way through about how I was...
What's actually going on here?
This is a survivor named Aaron.
Christian police officer Randy Eamon felt ideally placed to uncover the facts behind satanic abuse. At first, he believed survivors and helped produce a video warning of the dangers.
When we initially put the video together, my role was more or less an advisor.
After a thorough search, he found no evidence.
Having a Christian background, naturally you have an interest in the evil one, but I would intentionally push away my Christian beliefs and say, wait a minute, I'm a policeman. As far as I'm concerned, a crime is a crime, and we need to investigate it. One of the things you have to remember is I trained myself to look for this. I believed it, and I wanted to find it. I looked so hard. It's not there. The evidence isn't there.
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Hello, you.
Hi.
Most adult survivors make allegations during therapy sessions like this one.
No, right.
That's true.
Well, can you tell me anything about this pain that was right there behind the eye?
She is remembering some things that happened.
Therapists help clients regress to childhood to uncover repressed memories. Survivors say Satanists are highly skilled at concealing evidence.
Either the evidence is eaten through cannibalistic sorts of aspects of the ceremonies. Particular body parts are more favored than others in different sects. And often the groups are connected with mortuaries, and so the rest of it is burned. And at the higher levels, the higher cult levels, the cleanup is very sophisticated. And there is no evidence.
Actions open, come to position 1.
The FBI has targeted over 2,000 cases of satanic abuse. With modern detection techniques, concealing evidence is almost impossible.
It's not as easy as these people think to get rid of a human body. No matter how much the average person cleans it up, there are going to be traces left behind. So in these cases, it's not only a matter of no bodies, but no evidence that these murders take place.
And all the cover-ups there. Now I realise why there was a cover-up over the
So
Panorama.
to have someone like Jeffrey Dickens, you know, champion this, how did that make you feel?
He was marvellous with me.
It's like what Wilfred Wong says, and Wilfred Wong, I implore people to watch his interviews, and he's...
Yes, I've really enjoyed his.
Yeah,
really enjoyed them.
And Wilfred Wong, funny enough, let me just say, and this will bring me to your granddad, Wilfred Wong said, if you make enemies with a Satanist, you're doing a good job.
Exactly.
And Wilfred Wong worked with your grandfather and shared a platform with him in the 90s in Parliament when your grandfather spoke out for the first time about
I
Satanism.
read about that. I did read about that.
So thank you, Wilfred.
Yes, thank you.
And another thing that I've always said about Satanism, if you want to be part of it, then that's up to you, but we're a voice for the people who don't. We're a voice for the people who actually don't want to be involved. We've heard Audrey Harper, we've heard Doreen Irvin, where people are lured in, where people can't get free once they're in. We want to be a voice of actually saying, well, you don't have to be in.
Yeah, you can choose to leave.
You know,
It's
and that there's faith over fear, and I say that every time.
So the question I think people should ask, when you get people like Jeffrey Dickens that are going out there and they're exposing people that are not just having sex with children, they're whipping, beating and they're garroting and they're mutilating them, why are they being attacked by groups like SAF when the leader of it is a known paedophile and people are listening to him and they're even backing what he's saying? Why is this group SAF not shut down?
Oh my God, stop that fucking lying!
Why do people listen to it? Why the legacy of Jeffrey Dickens not now some sort of society where they're going out and proactively with government backing, hounding Satanists and hounding paedophiles and crushing them with the power and the mallet of the law, you know, and pulverising them? Why is that not happening? Why are there no MPs with the balls like Jeffrey now in Parliament? How would you answer that?
I don't know, maybe I'll get there one day and I'll finish it off then.
Yeah, you'll show.
You know, I say it again and again and again. Satanism is a religion. You are dealing with witchcraft, and you know, we have African ministers that come here that say witchcraft is very open in our country. You either go to the church, or you go to the doctor, or you go to the witch doctor. And here, it's dressed in suits and overalls.
Yeah.
But witchcraft is still the same here.
Well, if you take
5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And going back to SAF, the problems I have personally had with them on Twitter, constantly, even like an hour ago, I get constant tweets off them trying to discredit my granddad. That was it. They will not accept that SRA exists.
Well, of course they won't.
So this organisation, guys, look them up. They're absolutely vile.
So they're an acronym, SAFF.
Yeah.
They stand for Subculture Alternatives Freedom Foundation.
They're vulgar.
And they are a pro-paedophile and pro-satanic group.
Yeah, and they proclaim they are sticking up for human rights, and they've protected many children over the... Exactly.
Or anything we do. Why are we a threat? Why is telling the truth and exposing these sick sods, bastards, a threat? You know?
Yeah, if like my granddad's work, how has that just got lost? How has that been lost somewhere? If it was all rubbish, hang it out to dry. Let us all see. Let us all see.
Well, why can't we find the panorama programme?
Yeah, that's a really good. Why can't we find the panorama programme? And then what?
This documentary, can we just say what it was called again, Vicky?
In the Name of Satan.
In the Name of Satan, and who was it producing?
1992, Panorama.
But now, Panorama. In place of the published edition, tonight's programme is a report by Martin Bashir, postponed earlier, on satanic abuse. Because of the nature of the subject, you may find some scenes disturbing.
Similar stories have arisen across the country. In Lancashire, tales of the unexpected found their way to the home of MP Geoffrey Dickens.
Before you mentioned to me a tunnel, what happened there?
I just remember a tunnel to my left and all cloaks and everything to the right.
He says satanic abuse is now a nationwide problem and is pursuing a campaign at Westminster.
Control over children's minds and bodies.
Oh, yes, I've been back to one of the tunnels since, and I've seen actually inside the tunnel a drawing of a pentagram.
Yes.
And alongside.
I don't want to go over the top on this issue and frighten parents and frighten people, but it is quite widespread. All I know is that if these sort of cases have come to my attention, and they're all in different parts of the United Kingdom, then the probability is that it is going on in most major towns, and certainly the cities in this country.
The incredible stories. It was in America that stories about satanic abuse first emerged during the 1980s. Videos were exported to child protection agencies in Britain. Soon, some social workers began searching for satanic abuse here. But for all the graphic images, there hasn't been one successful prosecution to date. Parents say their children have been wrongly taken away and traumatized by the very childcare system designed to protect them.
Audrey Harper does say in her book, she said that she got dragged into Satanism because she was a street prostitute and she was coerced into it. And of course she doesn't make any excuses for her behaviour but she said, I killed a baby. And she says it in there. She's told the police, said they made me kill a baby. And the police did listen to her and she never did any time for it. And she just spoke out, so power to Audrey Harper.
Granddad wrote the foreword for that book.
Oh, he did?
Yeah,
he
Granddad
did,
wrote
yes.
the foreword, yeah.
And it's called Dances with the Devil.
Dance with the Devil.
Dances.
Dance with the Devil.
But how wonderful,
Wow.
what bravery for that woman.
Oh,
what
I know, right?
bravery for that woman to actually, you see, that's the freedom, that's the freedom that the truth brings.
Yeah.
You know, what bravery, not only to own up, but to actually write a book. I think,
And
it just inspires me so much.
It is warts and all.
When you realise that all these places are self-governing, they can do what they like. They attract homosexuals, they attract lesbians, they attract paedophiles. They attract homosexuals, they attract lesbians, they attract paedophiles because they can get away with it. Because the covenants are so secret, even the satanic temples.
It's difficult to read, isn't it? It's difficult to read.
The ex-Satanist now lectures nationally on what she calls the doorway to danger.
Because you're curious. There may be some of you wondering what doorway to danger is all about.
Audrey Harper says she was once a prisoner of fear, a recruiting agent for a coven which practiced child abuse and human sacrifice.
I think it's a far bigger problem. I think we're only touching the tip of it. When you realise that all these places are self-governing, they can do what they like. They attract homosexuals, they attract lesbians, they attract paedophiles. They attract homosexuals, they attract lesbians, they attract paedophiles because they can get away with it. Because the covens are so secret, even the satanic temples are secret, they can shift around. If they think they've been rumbled, they just go to another building. So it is a big problem.
But are we talking about just a few people in isolated parts of the country?
No, we're not. We're talking, it is nationwide.
In a year-long investigation, we've catalogued more than a score of recent serious cases with clear evidence of satanic ritual, abuse or crime. Some of the victims are being counselled by the Reverend Kevin Logan.
In counselling, I have seen some terrible practices. I've heard some really grueling, really nasty things that have happened to youngsters, to children at puberty, for instance. A girl having to have sex on the altar, the act of initiation into Satanism itself. Children having to eat feces and to drink blood. And stomach-churning, horrible things that these Satanists get up to. And the effect that this has on these young lives.
Earlier this year, Nottingham was the scene of one of the biggest and certainly one of the most gruesome child abuse cases in British history, involving 36 members of one family.
We've got masses of these drawings.
As they worked on the case, social workers, led by Judith Dawson, came to believe there were satanic influences at work.
All around the world, there's been an increase in the practice of spiritism, fortune-telling, witchcraft, and Satanism. This video seeks both to warn and inform the viewer about the possible dangers of any involvement with the occult.
Here I was, giving credence to stars and planets without actually seeing the hand that actually put them into that position in the first place.
My name's Judith Dawson and I'm a child abuse consultant from Nottinghamshire Social Services. In that job I spend most of my time having to help my department respond to families who've had problems, particularly involving the abuse of children. Over the past 7 or 8 years, social services departments have had to come to terms with the fact that children have not only been physically abused within their families, but they've also been sexually abused. And that's been a very painful thing to get used to. We've had to be taken beyond belief, because what we've learned is that children are not only sexually abused in some families, but that they're also ritualistically abused. That means that we have learned that some families, some adults, get involved with satanic groups whose main aim is to destroy everything that is good, everything that's good about human life and human values. And one particular target in that would be that they should hurt and defile children. As you're probably aware, Christ said, "Touch not one hair of this child's head." Satanists believe that they should do the opposite of that.
People like us Christian ministers are having to counsel youngsters time and time again. They get involved with the soft stuff, the horoscopes, the tarot cards, the Ouija boards. It draws them into this power that they don't understand, they can't control. And suddenly, they're lost. Their personalities disintegrate, and they go from bad to worse, and they lose the ability to be people in their own right and to make choices. And I'd just say to youngsters today, don't start on that path. Once you start on it, it's a very slippery slope that ends in disaster.
The sort of things that the children were saying were beyond the sort of things that they'd heard before. They were different, they were more bizarre, and they were horrific. You ask the children...
When the 23 child victims were made wards of court, the judge also accepted that the children, from babes in arms to 10, had suffered incest and sodomy in the course of satanic rituals. The victims' stories are confirmed by a family member who stumbled across a satanic ceremony by accident.
I just walked in out of the blue, and I just sort of seen all these masks, all these wigs and candles lit and everything. There was a cross on the floor, there was a cross on the wall inside the corner. There was also a sheep there involved. The sheep had been cut, and the children was made to drink sheep's blood. And it just turned my stomach over.
In court, 10 people were sent to prison for a total of 150 years. But there was hardly any mention of Satanism. The police say they heard the stories, but couldn't prove the satanic connection.
I accept there is the satanic abuse of children is no doubt a reality. I haven't personally experienced it, but I accept it as a reality. Unfortunately, in this particular case of these particular children, although they were habitually and horrendously abused, that abuse was not controlled by any satanic cult.
Until now, police and social workers in Nottingham have been at loggerheads. But today, after we'd passed on information from our files, a new team of police and social workers have begun to reinvestigate the satanic aspects of this distressing Midlands case.
Situations.
This is the self-portrait, self-picture.
In London, Natalie, now 15, endured 10 years of 3 satanic rituals every week. She's never spoken of it before.
The star in the circle, what was on the floor, us kids used to stand in. And the lady who used to sort of like be in charge was at the front on the altar. And the other people used to come in black robes with hoods and used to come in, you know, chanting. And they went round the circle, and then an animal would be killed.
Natalie's mother knew nothing of her daughter's ordeal. Natalie was living with her grandmother at the time, and she was one of the abusers. 2 years ago, Natalie broke free from the coven to be reunited with her horrified and now guilt-stricken mother.
She was made pregnant, and the child was allowed to grow to a certain age, and then they aborted her baby, and on a sacrificial table they sacrificed the live born child, not fully developed.
We've got ladies like Carolyn Bramall, who goes out there and she therapises people with DID. You know, she does a real good job of it, and again...
yeah, because, you know, what it used to be called multiple personality disorder, now it's known as dissociative identity disorder, where as a child you can't cope, so you split off.
Did you suffer from any of that?
Oh, definitely. When I look back, without a doubt, I had.
Through your earlier years, how did it affect you? Struggling with, you know, sort of dealing with this?
Oh, well, I was always told that I had a vivid imagination, that I was very highly strung. I'm not surprised I was highly strung. Just always running from myself.
Has been treating an increasing number of people who claim to have been victims of ritual abuse. A member of the National Council of Psychotherapists, she's been practicing for over 20 years. She agreed to take part in a reconstruction of a therapy session with an actress based on tape recordings of a patient reliving hidden experiences that have been buried deep within the psyche, often for years.
Everybody that I'm working with who claims to have been damaged in this particular satanic way is suffering from what we call post-traumatic stress disorder, and that means often being cut off from reality, being absolutely terrified for most of their life. We're talking about terrorism. We know that the brain unloads material and memories in a specific way. It starts with the kind of material that you can cope with, and it gets into the more difficult material to handle, so that there's a progression about the way they tell you things. And the interesting thing is that over the last 5 or 6 years, I'm hearing the same stories again and again, with slight variations, but the same things are happening, the same rituals, the same killings, the same shock to the system.
Is there any way that any of this could be faked by your clients?
I don't think you can fake, and I have checked with doctors, you can't fake going white, going absolutely icy cold, seeing people's backs go into spasm, seeing people relive ECT, for example. They jerk and they don't know what is happening to them. Very often when this material emerges in a relaxation technique, things occur and they do not recognize immediately what's happening to them. We make sense of it as the whole material comes out.
So, Vicky does her Christian outreach work, and it does get results, and Vicky was one of the real pioneers in this, and I first sort of heard of Vicky via the UK column many years ago, and then interviewed Vicky myself, and as a result more have come forward.